Okay, I think we've got a request that we have to do first for time, new business. All right, we've got a use of the bed tax funds requested. Colton, okay, come on, Colton.
Yes, good evening. It's good to see everybody. I'm here on behalf of the Ellsworth Convention and Tourism Committee, discussing the transient bed tax, or the transient guest tax, commonly known as the bed tax. You know that I spoke before you last summer when we were finishing this up, and my recommendation was we need to figure out a way to help the community understand that this fund exists. So we're going to do some marketing. So my time in front of you tonight is asking you to approve funds from the bed tax to help us do some marketing in the newspaper. On top of that, I will present, I have a basically a media guide that's been put together. Can I present that to you guys here? I printed just a few copies off. I've been emailing back and forth with Mariana, and I'll get her the actual files. 3 copies there. The reason that you're seeing me here is for a couple of reasons. Not only am I a appointee on the committee, but I am also a board member with Garozo County, and I'm also on the Garozo County Executive Search Committee to replace Stacy Smith. And so we found ourselves here with a great opportunity where, as we transition, as Stacy has left that job, you guys may or may not know this, but Garozo County is kind of the administrator of the transient guest tax. And so in my role on that board, helping Michelle as we transition through this, I've taken the time to put together a media guide. And so we have a very clear-cut, professional, understood timeline and attractive information that's going out to the community to really help them understand that this is a fund that's available to them. Bring your best ideas and let's get some tourism down through. And so I'm requesting on behalf of the committee, 2 ads in the newspaper based on published rates would come in at $248 a piece, 1 in March, 1 in April. The fund is going to be open, or the grant season for that is open from March 1st to April 30th. And so we'll do 1 ad for each month. And then we're also going to do a coordinated campaign out on Facebook, where the city is going to do posts, Garozo County is going to do posts. And hopefully that really covers the ground that it covers. So does anybody have any questions?
Is that this could be part of the Cowtown fund too? Did Cowtown get funds from the bed tax last year?
They are welcome to apply. Yes.
Welcome to apply.
They are welcome to apply, sure.
Because a lot of people have asked me, we've got the rhythm, is that right?
Rhythm and Reels.
Rhythm and Reels. And a lot of people want to do that, which is a good deal.
Mhm.
But we have another group that still wants to do the Cowtown per se. So if either group, could they form a committee and apply for those funds?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. The main stipulation, and we've got a fact sheet that we put together that's going to be available now at City Hall. It's going to be available online for anybody that really has questions about can I not apply for these funds. We've basically listed about 12 different questions there to help answer those. But to answer your question, yes, an independent committee could come together and say, we're planning this event, and they're going to give us all the details that they know. They're going to be held accountable for those details. They're going to have to report on those details post-event to make sure they spent the money appropriately. And yeah, it's.
And the other question that was asked me this last week, and then I answered this. So you guys are going to be the rhythm, but then are you still going to associate with Cowtown? Is that going to be gone from you guys?
No, it's gone. I mean, I think those elements were the pieces that are just split off. It doesn't mean people can't do what you're talking about. They could start a whole new committee. They could approach the rodeo. They could do what they want. And, you know, but this group is concert and the movie.
Okay, so basically, if they're not, it's not a Cowtown function then, right?
It will not be.
Will not be. Okay, that answered that question. So if a group wants to, they have to form a committee and come to the city. Is that right, Alan? And ask to be a petition of the city for the Cowtown. Then that would let them get funds. The reason I'm going over this is they're asking me and I don't know. And the other thing, some people on the Cowtown committee asked me if I didn't know, can they do a GoFundMe page because it's part of the city? Can they do that? Me and a city identity, Alan, do you know?
But they're not part of the city.
They're not part of the city,
They're
yeah.
gonna come to the city and request use of maybe funding through them
Sure.
and facilities, stuff like that. I see no problem with that.
Okay, so they could do a GoFundMe page as well as any group that wants to do something during those events, okay?
They certainly could. Keep in mind, and it's important to clarify in a public setting like this, Cowtown is their own 501c3.
Yeah,
And it doesn't have anything to do with Grossman County. It's their own independent thing. It has nothing to do with the city of Ellsworth. And so that's one of the things I think is important, again, about the transient guest tax. Even though Grossman County is going to help administrate it, because there's a professional wing to that, it's not a part of Grossman County. And so when you see the information that goes out online, it is the Ellsworth Convention and Tourism Committee. Because it is important to distinguish that it is not Grossman County and it's not the city of Ellsworth. It's the committee that is basically tasked with distributing these funds on behalf of the city of Ellsworth.
okay, because I'm real happy we have both. I mean, if every time you have an event, it's good. In fact, I brought up before the meeting, I think a good moneymaker would be to have a dunking stand and have all us city councilmen, the mayor up there, and you can throw balls and dunk us. You could be a moneymaker. They did that. Oh, gosh,
About
40,
5 years ago.
about 45 years ago.
Oh, wasn't that long ago.
You remember that? And my gosh, that was the biggest money making they had. I mean, everybody loves them. I'm sure that a lot of people like to dunk me in a dunking stand. But anyway, and so if they can do a GoFundMe page, I personally would start with $100 for a GoFundMe to start the Cowtown down. But so Rick Soka and it's good, Peterson, Sean, they're wanting to start a committee, so I'll talk to them and maybe have them talk to Alan what they need to do. Then maybe they can start a GoFundMe and then they can form a committee to apply for funds for you guys. The reason I'm bringing this up so everybody knows what's going on. Very good. Thank you, Colby, very much.
Very good. So just if I could please ask next steps, we're going to need approval of those funds. And then ultimately, then I'll work with the newspaper to have the ads produced. And then my understanding is that I'll bring the receipts back down to Angela and we'll
Okay.
put those appropriately to the right account.
Okay, sounds good.
I don't know how you need to do on your end, but we'll need some approval.
I would recommend the council approve not to exceed $500 to the transient guest tax code for advertising for allocation of funds. Because you gotta remember, he's appointed by the city.
Okay,
You know, the whole board is that the transient guest board is appointed by the city.
Yes.
Soon motion for no more than $500 for the tree.
I'll make that.
Okay, okay.
Okay, if I second, if I'm on the committee?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second it.
I don't see any conflict at all.
Okay.
okay.
All right, Councilor Panzer has made a motion and President of the Council, Coates, has seconded the motion to approve no more than $500 for Colby Richards and the Grow Ellsworth
Transient
committee
guest tax committee.
for the Transient Guest Tax Committee to for marketing. Any questions about that? No questions. Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank
I got a meeting. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
being up front.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, looks like we got new business, I'm sorry, consent agenda. The approval of the January 27th, 2025 regular council meeting minutes. The approval of the February 2025 airport advisory board minutes. Claim ordinance A01-0125, and do we have any water
That's next week.
next week? Okay, all right.
I don't see anything wrong there. Do you guys see anything? Make a motion that we approve. Consent agenda, please.
Second.
All right, Councilor Panzer has made a motion that we approve the consent agenda. Councilor Hanson has seconded that motion. Any questions or concerns? No, all right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Do we have a list for petition delegations? Thank you. Appreciate it. It's very helpful. All right, Karen, you want to come up first?
Yes, Karen Bonar, editor, publisher of the newspaper, also tenant of 304 North Douglas. I would like to, if we could, like I did last time, speak during that agenda item, if that's agreeable to the council. Or just be part of that discussion,
Sure.
Yeah,
if that's
yeah,
acceptable.
absolutely, yeah,
Thank you kindly.
okay. All right, next, Cindy S. Miller, come on up.
Did I sign that with an S?
What do you think? Is that enough?
Sure looks like it.
Legal name. Well, you answered some of the questions already I had, so. Anyway, my name is Cindy Miller. I live at 303 Missouri here in Ellsworth. I want to say thank you to our city administrator, mayor, the council, police and sheriff's departments, along with all the city staff for the many hours that you put in to make our city a safe and enjoyable place to live. Thank you, Alan, for coming as our interim while we wait for the one who will serve our community in the future. Thank you also for allowing community to visit with you about any of our concerns. Most of all, welcome to Ellsworth. Your wealth of knowledge and experience will definitely help us in areas of dispute and help us with any problems that arise in the future. A concern I have is the upcoming Rhythm and Reels. And looking at Facebook, I see that they needed volunteers and that our city is close to the great events like Rhythm and Reels, dying out the same way that the shooting of Sheriff Whitney did, the 4th of July did, and other fun activities our community has had. These events are dying, and I believe that it's for no other reason than lack of volunteers. And with a population of 3,000 plus people, I think if we all pull together and spread by word of mouth, we can help the small handful of people who are trying so hard to keep Cowtown Days alive. As I see it, it is not from lack of the board trying, it's a lack of people getting involved in volunteering to make it possible. So I stand here tonight asking you as a council board and the citizens here at this meeting, along with those watching by Zoom, if we might attend the meeting on the 12th at 6 p.m. at the Grow office to support the hard work being done by the Cowtown Committee. I'm also speaking out because I've been following on Facebook with friends who have questions about why the changes, and I feel going to the meetings is the best way to get the facts and that we can help them with their needs to keep Cowtown. Alan, you shared with me that this probably is not a city issue. However, I believe in our city, and I was wanting to hear from you as the city council meetings if you had any input on the matter. I wanted to say thank you for all the years that you've supported our Cowtown Days by making it possible with the closing of the streets and allowing all the vendors and having officers on hands to keep us safe. Thank you, and looks like we just covered that, so.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can get into Cowtown a little bit more during comments, but I do want to go to the meeting on the 12th so that I'm not overstepping my bounds. I've probably now been the most continuous member since December. Whenever we had that windstorm, that's when I found out about it, was the 3 county fire, December 15th, 2021. The outgoing mayor, Mark Kennedy, Rusty Barnado, and a couple other people were like, hey, Cowtown's about to die, will you help? And so I've been on board since then, so I know a lot about it and can kind of fill you in a little bit later during the comments section, but I also don't want to overstep my boundaries. I want to make sure that they, you know, we have one more meeting on Wednesday, the 12th at 6 p.m. Hopefully the snow won't ruin it. And could probably do something by Zoom, but anyway, moving right along here. Everybody has spoken, so unfinished business, 304 North Douglas update. So Karen, oh, no, yeah, you go ahead and get started, yeah.
All right, at the December 9th meeting, we gave the Davises 60 days to come up with a plan. Asked for a engineer, but they got Shannon Mogg and met with me and Tina Davis. And they agreed to do everything that I asked for originally. 60 days to tear down the garage, then 6 months to build the back wall, fix the guardrail up on the apartment, and all the other repairs. Tear down that north wall between them and the highway patrol office. It's ready to fall too, so. And they agreed to everything, and she even wrote it down in her update to council. So, they're just asking to do that instead of getting an engineer, and I'm agreeable with it if you guys are. We're getting it done what we want it done. So.
So they'll have until August?
Yeah,
Be 60 plus 6 days, 60 days plus 6 months.
no, 60 days to tear it down in 6 months, 6 months total to tear it down and rebuild it.
It's about August.
You ever visited, get first meeting, what was that?
That means it's completed by August only.
Yes.
Karen, do you have a question? I do, the one concern that we have at the independent reporter is just to be sure that we have access to utilities. Our heat is provided by gas, and we want to be sure we have gas through the 1st of May. I don't know what that means for the demolition of the garage area, so that was one concern that I have, and I want to just seek clarification.
And the city to do it in stages to not disrupt the reporter's business.
I just wanna like express that if they have to fiddle battle with the gas line, we need heat. So, that's the only concern that I have in all this. Everything sounds really productive, and we're so excited that this is moving forward and the issue is being remedied. We're absolutely in support of that, but I just want to be sure that we don't have disappointed council if the garage isn't down in 60 days because our gas line goes through it and we need gas to keep our building heated. So I just wanted to put that on the table, just.
I think that's a reasonable request, really, because we're not doing it to harm their business by what any means. We're making the structures safer, so if Delvin can work with the reporter and the Davises, that'd be great. All right, I don't think we need a motion for that, do we?
Yes, I would recommend, since you had given an extension to now, I'd recommend the motion.
Okay,
And what I'm hearing here, maybe by September 1, have a report back at the first meeting in September.
okay. As of right now, then we'll go ahead and approve the 6 months construction project. And with it not to interfere with the heat at the reporter office building, and Shannon Mogg, if he's doing the work for the Davises, they get together with Delvin and work out agreements so you can maintain your heat during this time. And I think Patrick has something.
Well, I would like the motion to just give them the, right, excuse me. I think the motion itself should just say the council gives them that much time, how much time you're giving them. I think that Karen just needs to talk to her building owner and the contractor and coordinate with them. And I know you're more than capable of doing that, Karen, so I'm not worried about it. But the city can't really impose all those conditions on all those other parties.
Okay,
All we can say is, hey, we'll give the owner this much time. And that's, it's a motion for that. You agree, Alan?
Yes, I agree.
okay.
Just set a date, like first meeting in September.
By this first meeting of September, and agreements could be worked out with them and the contractor.
I'll second that.
Any debate, any concerns?
We're giving them 7 months instead of 6, right?
Well,
That's what I'm hearing.
yeah, but February 1 was 6 months, so we're February
Very tentative.
there's no weather issues, it's just. It showed that, it's also showed that we want the building down, the council wants to build it down, but you're also realistic and knowing that weather and meeting with the needs of the tenant and everything else.
So the motion should be.
September, first meeting is September.
Okay. So the motion made by Don, seconded by Tyler, is to have this. The deadline for this demolition to be the first meeting in September, right?
The whole project.
The whole project, okay? All right, any debate, any concerns with that? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Delvin, thank you, Karen.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
All right, new business. We're setting a special meeting for Coma governing body training, governing body study session.
Basically, this is, you know, Mariana talked about with the new code, for, handling meetings, and it was given the council adopt, I believe, what.
Yeah, all last fall.
And then also, an update on coma stuff, Pat, you can give a coma training same time, as you suggesting. Next Tuesday, next
The 18th.
18th, next Tuesday at 5:30.
But then you said you couldn't be there.
I'll just give it Patrick and we can, he said he could do one-on-one training.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll offer, if people can't be at the main training, I can do it separately, we'll figure it out. The 18th was just stuff in city court, so it was convenient for me, but if you guys need to debate, discuss a different time, you can.
No, if you're willing to do Patrick, they can do it and I can just get with you and.
Yeah, I've got it all on slides, I'm sure we can do it.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we have the special chambers of the city hall council meeting with Coleman and Cora on the 18th of February at 5:30. Has that to be here at the city? Yeah, okay.
Also include, what's the name of that book?
It is the Code of Procedure and Handbook for Effective Meetings.
Okay,
It's all, we're gonna do both.
okay, okay.
I'll second.
All right, Don made a motion to have this meeting for the special meeting for the Coma governing body training to be held next Wednesday at 5:30. Jessica has seconded that motion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item here. Looks like we've got so want to give a little bit of background here. So Rick Conley has submitted his letter of interest in filling the vacancy on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Rick's experience as an insurance agent will provide helpful insight for current and future planning efforts. So the motion is right there.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to appoint Rick Conley to the planning.
The mayor needs to make the appointment,
Pardon me.
and then the commissioner council will then either accept or reject the appointment.
Yeah,
All right, so I would like to make the appointment of Rick Connolly for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'll second it.
No, make a motion to.
I'll make a motion to accept this motion. Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion by Councilor Panzer and seconded by Jessica to approve the appointment of Rick Connolly on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Any problems with that? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We thank Rick for wanting to serve the city. We look forward to having him. Next item, fireworks ordinance discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, basically, our current fireworks code is very, very lacking. And it has a lot of errors in it. What started my concern with it is that by code, we are only allowed to shoot off fireworks for 6 hours on July 3rd. So, there has been a lot of work with coordinating fireworks stands, in the past. Perlins and Tammy Cruz come to council to request permission to set up their stands. However, there's nothing in our code that requires that. And commercial vendors don't come to council to ask for permission. So really, this is just a complete rework of our fireworks code to include fixes to all the things in our current, and then to add stipulations for Tammy Cruz has a contract that she drafted. It was approved in 2023. Dustin drafted it at the end of 24. Tammy has now signed it. However, there is nothing in code that required a contract. However, she does have her stand on a city easement. So that's included in this. Really, this presentation of it is for just to get it in front of council so that you guys can discuss any issues that you have with it. Primarily in that I highlighted some sections. What does council want to have for discharge dates, discharge time? Most cities don't allow fireworks stands to be in residential areas. However, Hurlins have been there at their house for many, many years. So this would allow an exception to that. However, like moving forward, we wouldn't allow fireworks stands in residential, unless by a resolution, that sort of thing. And really, do you want to allow fireworks discharge on city-owned property? Do you want people to be able to shoot off fireworks in the streets, in the parks, that kind of thing? So really, this is just to facilitate conversation on this so that I can finish up.
Probably rely a lot on Alan and your experience in different cities of what, you know, what works and where the hangups are. And
You know, and at least talking to, when I talked to Angela downstairs, her concern was that maybe something in there is that we only are allowing licensed fireworks to be sold in town and used in town. She thinks that by her house,
It's included in there.
by her house, there's some stuff that's been put together. And it's fun stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's not the safest stuff in the world and everything else. City property, you know, of course, that one stand is actually on city property, which is interesting. There's nothing wrong with it, but you know, that it never becomes taxable property. That you know, that's always a concern about those. If it's ever assessed as taxable property, the dates, you know, I've been in cities where you get to shoot fireworks for more days, less hours, and everything else. But you know, it's whatever the community wants.
There was a limit to how many days residents could shoot off fireworks. When I drafted this, I set it for the same days that fireworks stands are able to sell, by Kansas law, the KAR dictates it, and that's what Ralph goes off of when he completes his inspections. So that's what the incorporated bit is in there, incorporation by reference. My thought with that, and again, you guys can do however you see fit. If we allow the discharge of fireworks over the course of time that the vendors can sell, there's the potential for a higher revenue of tax dollars to the city versus you can only shoot your fireworks off for 3 days. But I mean, we're a big fireworks family.
Right.
So if we buy fireworks and we shoot them all off, we're gonna go buy more.
Right.
So,
And every kid's memory that you can think of has enjoyed the 4th of July, you know.
Yeah.
When I was young, I lived for that 4th of July, so I don't have any problem with the firework from June 27th.
That's probably a little long.
Is it a
I was
long?
gonna say,
I just
that's
come to
way
a city that was, and they've just cut it down. I would suggest July 1. It's still 4 days.
Yeah, 4 days, yeah, they still have plenty of time,
Yeah.
I guess.
I was gonna say shootings would be plenty.
But I do like the up in the midnight though.
And maybe, again, you wanna take a look at it, is on June or July 1, 2, and 3, it has to stop by 10 or 9. Cause you have pet owners here too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you
Yeah.
have to, those that wanna shoot off fireworks, to those that have pets. And how do you find a happy medium in between? Because, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, fireworks like apple pie and baseball and hot dogs, but you know, but, you have to be careful. You know, I came from a town that you like fireworks, or if you have PTSD, military, you're saying, you know, we don't want it because it gives us problems.
Yeah.
But then the next veteran will say, I fought for this, right? So it was a fun balance all the time.
Yeah. Well, 5 days, we'll have a chance to go back and buy some more then.
4 days.
If I run out of
July 1,
money.
2, 3, 4, yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
Hey, can I say something? I'm with Dawn on the doing it at the first. That would be pretty great, you know, to extend it a little bit for the time to shoot them off.
But I think there needs to be I agree with Alan, a 9 or 10 cutoff.
1, 2, and 3, or 4.
Yeah, but on 1, 2, and 3, yeah. I mean, I'm not big on 1, 2, and 3, I'm big on 3 and 4, but that, it is what it is.
What about New Year's? I don't know, there's a lot of New Year's fireworks, but are there some?
You know, New Year's fireworks were allowed by state statute back in, on Y2K. That was the first time it was done, and then people believed in it. If the Chiefs put one last night, there probably been fireworks in town.
there was one,
There was anyhow.
there was one.
and I stand up for the police department here. Fireworks, control or follow orders is not the easiest thing to do, because you gotta be there. And then I'll go, well, you know, Mariana shot it off, I didn't allow her to, she just did it, so, I mean, there's a lot of enforcement issues, so again, it's trying to find something that's workable with the public. And, you know, we say we're gonna force it, but also, you know, if you bend a little bit, I think that's where the July 1, 2, 3 makes sense. Again, I'm from Frisco's Airs back. And do you have anything about commercial fireworks displays here?
We don't, but I added a section in here,
Okay,
so,
because sometimes you'll have the commercial, I don't know if Rodeo will ever wanna do one, or one of the events down the road will ever do one. And a lot of communities will allow commercial fireworks displays on given events with certain application process.
But I think there needs to be some restrictions, rules on like parks, because people don't clean up.
I did add a section in here about cleaning up your stuff.
Because I mean, last year,
Yeah.
the lot across the street from our house, it's city owned, it was trashed, and people just left their trash over there.
I think it's toward the end, they have to have it cleaned up within 24 hours, and that includes public property, and if your stuff goes into your neighbor's yard, you need to clean up your stuff. Again, our fireworks or our code is maybe this long, so this added a lot of stipulations to it. But my biggest concern is, when do you guys want people to be able to shoot off? Because right now, if we follow code, it's 6 hours on the 3rd, that's it.
Well, that's how you interpret it. I interpret it differently. So,
Midnight,
I like Darcy's idea on the 1, 2, and 3 to 10 o'clock, then on the 4th and 5th, midnight.
Easy.
That's just real easy to enforce, too, isn't it, Chief?
Yes,
It's
that's,
easier.
that's what I was gonna suggest earlier, but then you brought it up was. From the 27th is way too long, from the 1st to the
Yeah.
4th is good, but have them shut off early on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then on the 4th, let them go to midnight.
But I don't think we need to do the 5th, in my opinion, sorry.
I don't think so either,
I think the 1st through the 4th is good.
because the more you do it, the more calls we're gonna get people
Yeah,
back in the
the only
shop.
problem with that.
Yeah.
is- Are you gonna give them an extra day then to shoot?
We gave them
No, we-
the first, second,
Thank God for the rain in July.
Yeah.
we gave them the first, second, third to shoot them off,
Yeah.
sorry.
I mean, we can't.
Hey, has
control it.
anybody ever thought about New Year's?
Yeah, we talked about it a minute ago, Tyler, so, yeah, we probably need to address that too. And it could be the same thing, I mean,
And I think New Year's would be one you'd want to do just on.
just New Year's, yeah.
Yeah, just New Year's.
Right,
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve till midnight.
Until midnight or 12:01.
I was just gonna chime in, I have watched at least 4 different government bodies deal with fireworks. And my advice would be to like, think about it and simmer for a little while and talk to people, because it's one of those things. If I ever write a book about my life as municipal attorney, there'll be a chapter on fireworks and a chapter on chickens. Because everybody has an opinion and there's no perfect answer, so I was just like, sit on it, rest on it, listen to some people and think about what, because there's no one can tell you, this is the one only way to do it. So that's my.
So it's gonna be decided tonight then.
no, no, I just put it on here for discussion so that I can get an idea.
I mean,
of
honestly-
what's drafting.
This is new for me because every place I've ever worked, there was no firing fireworks in the city limits, period.
I was gonna say while I was up here, I grew up in this town and rode my bike to all my friends' houses to buy fireworks. And as an adult, it does strike me as a little bit outside the norm that we do allow sale of fireworks in residential areas, and we should probably really look at not ending that someday. And I love going over to Herland's and buying fireworks, but that's something we should really think about.
And that's, I put in there by resolution to allow in a residential area, just because Herland's have been there for so long. He called, wanted to get on the agenda to ask for permission, but I wanted to get this rewritten first. He is ready to go. He's ready to purchase his fireworks. But he did say that his goal is to only sell in residential for this year and next year. And by 2027, he wants to be in a commercial area. So it's something that he's forward thinking about also.
I don't wanna do anything to hamper his business stuff.
And that's why I said to allow by resolution, so.
And there are fireworks people, it's a strange phenomenon, we got a guy in our neighborhood that spent $5,000 a year. And it created a lot of tension because people would pass judgment on it. And he just kept saying, this is my thing. This is what we do. And it was amazing what he could do. So I get it. I was like, let's look at this. He doesn't do anything else. He shoots off a ton of fireworks and loves it. So more power to him. So, yeah.
I'll redraft to change our dates and times for ending. Are you okay with things starting at noon? No. Do you not care about what time they start during the day?
Definitely care about what time they start.
I think noon is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so noon until 10 PM, the first, second, and third, and then on the fourth to end at midnight would technically be July 5th. Or 11:59.
We have, it's midnight, beginning of the day or the end of the day.
Beginning.
See ya.
You're good. And then I'll put a section in there for New Year's Eve. And then I'll leave the rest as is, and we can rediscuss next week. Next council, not next week. Fair enough. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so moving right along to the discussion of potential request for de-annexation of a parcel of property currently in the city of Ellsworth.
Mr. Mayor, council members, as you remember last meeting, there was a person in the, what do you call it, petitions and
Petitions and
public comment, but anyhow, in the public comment session that basically talked about, can I de-annex a piece of ground so I can build a accessory building? Of course, you heard mine, and the wish of the council that night was to at least study a little bit. I did put it in the packet. I felt it's important to understand annexation before you understand de-annexation. So I put in the packet, I wrote a piece, of course, but some legislative briefing from back in 2016 that explains how land is annexed into a city. And again, one thing that I brought out at the last meeting is you can annex a lot of times or add property if you want to make your city lines contiguous and straight. Of course, by taking something out, you're doing the exact opposite. And that's a concern, of course. And of course, you realize that this gentleman does have city water and sewer. And now, and annexate, he has potential to annex by petition. There's two kinds of annexations basically that we deal with. Once you're allowed, which the city says, we're gonna annex this in. And when the city says that, city always has to provide utility plans and everything else. And those are to be reviewed by the county actually every 3 years or in the third year, if the city has done what they said they're gonna do. But where it's by petition, you have no hearings involved, and this land was brought in by petition, I have seen. It was brought in by petition, so it was a want to bring it into the city, so taking it out now. Again, you've heard me said last meeting, there's nothing wrong with paying taxes in the city, and there's nothing wrong because people by paying taxes get services, be it streets, and they may not get that street in front of the house, but they now get the streets they drive on when they get down or get to work in town. So it's all part of that community effort. So, don't know what you want to discuss on it, but basically, get some information on it, some of my thoughts on it, but also give you some data from the state as what annexation is, issues like that.
I can't speak for anybody from just kind of rehashing last meeting. We were not in favor of de-annexing. Am I correct?
Yeah, I wasn't for it.
I'm sorry, I was on the line, but I can understand both sides, so I'm kind of on the line. But I'm only one person, so.
Does this set precedent?
Yes.
I just hate to tell somebody they can't do
Now it says precedent.
Oh, it always says precedent. Of course, he can annex.
You can't
He
annex
can annex
it
his property in.
and then still be able to do it.
He has total rights to do it. I mean, he has a way, like I said, he does receive city services now at a little higher rate. But he does receive city services now, so.
And if he annexes in, the property lines won't be straight then either, will they?
No, but then maybe the next step is you annex that whole subdivision.
Oh, okay.
Has he expressed an interest in being annexed or?
No.
Not at all. He does not want to be.
No, because you don't want to pay city taxes.
Right. Forcing is probably not the best thing either at this point.
No, there's no reason to force it,
Right.
and you would not win that one,
Right.
so.
Okay, So basically, we just table, do nothing.
That's what I suggested.
Okay.
All right, so that discussion is over with and we are setting a record pace tonight. Moving on to department heads. City inspector, Del, come on up.
This has nothing to do with city inspection, as you was talking about fireworks, when I was a kid. July 3rd, you don't have to get up July 4th to go to work or late over to school. But to me, July 3rd is not July 4th, because we have to get up in the morning, so we always shot till midnight on the 3rd. Whereas July 4th, everybody has to get up and go to work July 5th. So to me, the 3rd is always more fun for me.
So you're saying extend it to midnight on the 3rd and the 4th?
That's just my opinion.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
Because nobody has to work, so.
Right.
Not nobody.
Well, I.
Government.
But you don't live in the city anymore either.
No, I can't. 365.
What I'm hearing is if we want to shoot fireworks off outside of the time that's allowed, we're going to your house.
I don't Very fire extinguisher.
He does have a good point, though.
And that's something you guys need to
Yeah,
talk about.
we'll have to think about that one.
And that's why,
The people can have their beer and fun and everything the night before, sleep in on the 4th, so yeah. Not that anybody would do that,
No,
I don't think that ever happens, but you know, just in case.
that's all I got.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, Del. Yeah,
Can I raise a point? Just,
sure, Alan, that's fine.
you might want all, and I'm not telling you what to do, of course, but it's just common sense, you might want to put in there something about unless there is a countywide burn ban in
It's in
effect.
there.
Okay,
It's in there.
just
Yeah,
thought,
not a bad idea.
suggest that.
All right, we don't have the fire chief back there, I don't believe. Okay. Is Patrick back there? I don't see him.
I'm here.
Oh, I was Patrick Hammond, but,
Hamill, okay.
yeah, that's okay. Sorry. Police chief, do you have anything else? Chief Bennett?
No, sir, I don't have anything else.
Okay, no Ronnie. No Troy, I don't see him back there. And then, David, did you have anything?
No, this time.
Okay, all right. Now, Patrick, city attorney. come on.
I don't have anything unless anyone has any questions for me, buddy.
I have a question for you, Patrick.
Okay, Don?
Okay, some of you know and some of you don't know, I've been asking public quite a bit about it. And, I got this letter this week that, from Chris Cobal, the state attorney general, that Darcy and I had been in violation of the Coma Act. And what happened was, an email was sent out by Dan. And it went to all of us on city council. Darcy and I responded, reply all, which I know now is a violation of the COMA or Kansas Open Meetings Act, but wasn't the main violation that Dan sent an email to all of us? Is that a violation too?
The email said do not reply.
Okay, so,
You can't send it out to everybody.
he can.
so
You can.
okay, so since I got the question, here's what is, there was a complaint to the Attorney General's office,
Okay,
which generates a request for information from the Attorney General's office. So that's the letter that I shared with the council. I was looking at my notes around October 7th of last year and it was related to the parking lot issue that was going on across the street, just for anyone who's curious about what the pretext was. That week was not a council meeting. We didn't have a council meeting scheduled until the 14th. On the 7th, there was a chain of emails involving the mayor, myself, Dustin, and Jessica Coates. About that in general terms, I believe, about the agenda. We have a small separate group that generally has emails about that because we're not large enough to violate COMA. You'd have to get to 3 council members to violate COMA. So that email group kind of exists. At some point on the 7th, there was an email from the mayor to that group plus Don Panzer. Again, didn't violate COMA because we didn't quite get to 3 there, but I was looking through all my emails and there was chatter about that. The next day on the 8th, Mayor Finnegan emailed the entire council, copied Dustin and myself. I think the timestamp was at a time where I'm not awake usually, at least I'm not checking my email. It was a forward of an email that he'd received regarding the parking lot issue. And it was an email to council saying, we should have a special meeting. The forwarded email might be considered business of the city council, so this was an entire email to everyone. The preferred way for staff to schedule a special meeting is and always has been for a governing body member to ask staff requesting a special meeting so that staff can then directly talk to people. Council members, you know that when we send our emails out, we use blind carbon copies so that you can't reply all to each other and accidentally or intentionally violate code. But that email on the 8th from Mayor Finnegan was done that way. So there was a response from Don Panzer saying, I'm going to paraphrase it as, I don't want a special meeting. I don't think we need one. And you did have a comment about the business, so we were in.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I did say that I don't feel we need to have a special meeting.
Yeah, and then later, Councilmember Hanson also responded all to it. So where we're at now, then Dustin saw the email the next morning, because immediately told everybody, stop replying all, this isn't a good thing to do. I looked at the tape on the 14th during my city attorney time. I asked council for a COMA training. It's my habit, every time for the places I work, every time we have a changeover in officers, I ask them to do a COMA training. I jumped into Ellsworth between terms and didn't realize that you guys hadn't really done a COMA training in a while, so. And we just had never gotten around to doing one. My feeling was, between Dustin's email and the admonition I gave to do a COMA training, and the fact that we had so many things going on in October of last year, that was how I was choosing to handle it, right or wrong. Then in November 16th, Mayor Finnegan emailed the Kansas Attorney General reporting it and complaining about the violation. So now what we're doing is, I have talked to each council member individually, asking for a statement. They'll sign those, we'll send it to the Attorney General's office. If they think that we have violated the COMA, their typical response is to require 1 hour training or some sort of training. Alan and I discussed that might be something I do, but it could also be something we get a professional from outside the building to do just for a little bit of extra and emphasis.
That'd probably be a good thing for everybody.
I would love to go I'd go and watch it too. It's, information's never bad. I think the most penalty the Attorney General's office can give is a fine. They rarely do those. In my opinion, just my own personal opinion, reading the emails and the substance, everything that was discussed in the emails, which were very brief, was also discussed in the open meeting at the next council meeting. There was not any secret deliberations, secret information, or anything that happened that would prejudice the public. It was the exact, if you watched the meeting on the 14th when that discussion happened about the parking lot, it was identical to what people were saying in emails. We just shouldn't have done it by email.
The thing that struck me funny too was, as a remedy, the mayor asked for Panzer and Hanson to be removed from office. Isn't that a little strong?
The Attorney General doesn't have the power to remove council members from office, so.
And it says right there on there, they don't have the power.
Yeah, okay, but I thought that was a little strong.
My only frustration was, if you were so concerned about it when it happened, you waited a month and a half to file it.
I would say it didn't get to me he filed it a month later, which he can speak for himself. I didn't get to it. I don't know if there was some sort of confusion between the city attorney and myself. I didn't get it until the last meeting, because it got mailed here. So then ever since then I've been.
And there's one thing that's not in here that really stands out to me. I'm glad there's school board members here. During this time, I replied back, says, no, we don't need a meeting. And I specifically went over to Farm Bureau and I asked them, what would it do for the city to make that public parking? And Dan Reed told me, he talked to the owner, he said nothing you could do to make it city funding. So I replied to Dan, whatever. Dan told me I didn't have permission to use that email. He was using the school email for doing city business.
No, I asked you not to use my school email.
Yeah, but you sent the email to me first.
I'm just saying that that's not a good preferred method of doing it.
Well, then
You
why
responded,
send it to me
you
first?
responded, I will not use your school email, and I appreciated that.
Okay, but I just want to say, it made it look like it was all my fault, but
I would say let the Attorney General's office sort the whole thing out. Let's see what he says and let's move on.
I think it's pretty well done.
Yeah, well, one thing I always add to my trainings, that the thing that jumped the track here, in my opinion, is like, when it comes from staff, we always use those blind carbon copies, because anyone who gets emails from anyone in 2025 or 2024 has been the victim of somebody replying all when they didn't mean to reply all, and it's so easy to do, and that's all it takes to potentially violate coma, so. I wish if we ever have to get a special meeting, talk to staff, let staff let staff do our job, and we can do. Anyway, that's what I've got to say about this.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Patrick?
No, that's all.
All right. Mariana?
I've already sent you guys out the email about the special meeting for training. Patrick and I were working on getting this put together. Long before any of this Coma violation or any of that happened. So, that being said, you guys all have an email about training that is coming up. My only request is please read the handbook and the code of procedure before you come to the meeting. That way you're prepared to ask any questions that you might have. That way we're not kind of.
And that's this one here, right?
Nope.
Oh, the other one. Okay.
Spiral bound.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Because that's what we adopted by ordinance. So that's what my portion will be of the training.
Yeah, because I didn't get reply all. I just did it without even thinking about it. So very good.
That's it.
All right, Alan?
Thank you, sir. Make some comments. You made a comment about city community thing. You know, I think a lot of times a city commission, there's items that are, city commission is legislative in duties. There's things that are good for the community that are community issues. Now, I think in any event, they're good for the community. And of course, where the city comes in now is, since you own the facility, the city owns the facilities, the parks, the streets, the blah, blah, blah. We have to provide law enforcement, we have to provide fire protection, whatever the case may be. Public works and the streets may have to provide barricades. So, you know, even though the city commission is very important in community events, it still takes a community as a whole, be it a food bank or whatever the case may be, to make it happen. Because you don't want to become the legislative group that makes things happen. You want to be the group that allows things to happen. And I think that's where the connection is, but the community as a whole. But you got to realize that, you know, the 6 of you up here, 6 of you are just, you're representative of the people of the community. You're all voted by the people of the community, but yet everybody in the city is the city. You know, I've heard my career is like, you're the city. No, I'm not the city. I'm hired by the governing body to do a job on behalf of every taxpayer, every person that lives in the community. And US governing bodies are elected. So when they say the city is doing this, that means the whole town's doing it. No, they chose you. And then, of course, like in my interview here, you chose me to come in and administrate that process. So always remember, you know, we say that, and the city, of course, you want things to happen in your community. So the city allows things to happen, like the festivals and whatever the case may be, and you do those things. Just, there's always some distinction though. Of course, I give my reports to keep you up with the data, different things. You know, last week we talked about different types of city governments, just to inform you of, and using all my past experience. Have a meeting with potential property seller for the sewer project today, moving on that because we got to keep moving, because our new sewer permit says that by the end of this year, we have to make substantial progress on that, and we're moving towards that and not slowing down. Working a little bit with Steph on employee handbook. We need to rewrite that. Unfortunately, the last couple of years, you adopted pieces here and there. We just got to bring them all together now. So it's one contiguous book and it makes sense. And you know, this might got passed here, they get passed, and well, which copy they're using, and then we bring it together. So that'll be one of our goals to get to you, or, you know, sometime this spring. Also a finance policy, again, trying to bring everything together into something usable. And as when I leave there, they hire a new manager, they'll have it in place and they can make tweaks then if they need to, but hopefully we'll cover a lot of the issues that could move forward. He mentioned chickens before. I have a history of chickens. But no town I've ever has allowed chickens yet. And always an interesting thing in chickens, 10-to-1 ducks and geese and everything else. So it's I always said in chickens, it's funny that in the east half of the state, you probably have more chickens in towns with chickens than you do in the west half. And I like to think it's because some of us, when we got home a little late on Friday night, we had to clean the chicken house on Saturday. So don't know who that had been, but, I always think chickens is always funny that the metro areas will allow chickens, whereas more rural communities have not. And again, it's just always an interesting concept. Because raising chickens, I realize eggs are $5 a dozen right now, but raising chickens is not cheap either. So, that's always the thing you hear. Then follow some of the state legislative stuff. Last week there was hearings on 3 mile zoning, which the city does have here. There are 2 others and it should be blocked. City shouldn't have it. In fact, one of the persons that talked was from Junction City where I was previously, and Junction City doesn't have 3 mile zoning. And yet they're against it. Well, I'm not sure why they're against it, because they don't have it, you know, but always fun things to watch. But enjoy working with the staff and everything else. And again, if you ever have anything you want to talk about, give me a holler. Thank you.
Very good. City Council, Aaron, do you have anything?
No.
Tyler? Jessica, do you have anything?
Yeah, this might be a question for Patrick too. So somebody asked me recently, salary information for city staff is public record, right?
Yes,
How does someone go about finding what our city staff make?
they make a Kansas Open Records Act request.
Okay, it's not on a website somewhere.
No, it did be a request.
Okay.
And they just request. Are you or is
It's me.
you, Mariana, the keeper? Make us a phone request of it's on records.
That's it.
That's it. Don, you have anything?
Yes, I got some good news. Our previous administrator, Dustin, called me last week and he said the ICMA investigation is over on him. And there was 2 complaints. One was filed by a lady that comes here and the other one was filed by Dan against Dustin, our city administrator. After the county attorney, the city attorney, and the KBI looked at it, and then it was also sent on the ICMA. Their conclusion was without merit, had no merit whatsoever for the filing for the ICMA report. Basically, they said it was vindictive, delusional, and without merit. So,
Why didn't I get a copy of that then?
well,
I'm the one that filed it. Don't you think they would have communicated with me?
well, maybe they didn't think it, so. Maybe it was a need to know basis, maybe they didn't feel you needed to know.
You're just making stuff up.
I don't believe
Keep
so.
going. I'll show you the email.
I knew you were gonna try to take this from a victim standpoint to a villain, but if you have any questions, call ICMA. or
That's right.
call
Call
Dustin.
him, absolutely. Call.
Yeah,
yes.
but it sure seems funny when Mary said that there were 7 people signing a complaint, but only 2 complaints went in, yours and hers.
Hers was a group complaint. There may have been a third. I don't think.
Oh, yeah, see, there's always an excuse there, so, anyway. The good for Dustin, because I don't think it's to the point where if we get sued, I think it's when we will get sued, because the defamation of character and everything that you did make a hostile work environment is probably gonna get us sued. And Patrick, I think, but I know, I have all the text, all the emails and the messages between you and Dustin to back up everything that you had said to him.
So you're aligned with him to sue the city.
No, I'm doing that to protect the city, and that's why I wanted to censor you, which we did. That way they sue you and not the city governing body. You know, reap what you sow, Dan, that's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Darcy?
All right, so I'm gonna wrap it up here with, Cowtown, the meeting is Wednesday at 6 p.m. It's at Grow Ellsworth County. I would say, you know, if you'd like to come, you can come. It'll be at least, if you do come, if there are community members that want a little bit more background, we're probably happy to give it to you. Like I said, it's been a discussion that's gone on for 3.5 years. Clearly, a battle. You know, we've had two 2022 and 2024, and you get a committee together and, you know, you still don't have enough people, and you have a festival, and then a bunch of people quit. And you're kind of starting over. So this cycle, you know, kind of has been going on for a while. So it's just time to pivot. And of all the events that we did, the concert was amazing. I mean, people loved it. It was just fun. It was easy to manage. It, you know, people were happy, and we're thinking that's the #1 reason you have a festival is for happiness, make some money. But what I like that Don's talking about is, hey, we want to protect the heritage and maybe we do a separate festival. That's not a bad idea, but I think probably talking to the committee on Wednesday would be a good idea. If you could be there at 6 p.m.
Yeah, and I don't know, who owns the stuff like,
Girl, County or
no, the girls dancing trailer and the hanging stuff and the shooting.
I think it's all mystery now. I think it's just community owned.
Oh, so it wasn't property of the city at all or anything, right, or was it? I didn't
It's
know.
being stored at Good Sam's.
Yeah, okay,
So I'd say come on Wednesday the 6th or Wednesday the 12th at 6 p.m. and you know, just have a conversation, and you may walk away wanting to do a separate festival. You may very well not.
where did you say it was at?
Ellsworth County.
Can I interject real fast?
Yeah.
Michelle Skirkis is on here.
Yeah.
She said, let the mayor know that my office may not be open that evening due to the weather.
Okay, so it may not happen.
It may not have,
Yeah.
okay. I forgot to ask Alan a question too before we end that, after you're done there.
I think that with the Attorney General thing, let them decide. Everybody's gonna submit a statement. They're gonna tell their side of the story. They cannot lie. They've got to have it attested. It's gotta be notarized. Let them sort it out. They may go one way or the other, but it's clearly something that they're willing to look at. And I think that's important to know. They're not just not taking it, throwing it in the trash can. So there's something there that needs to be looked at. So with that said, do we need an executive session? All right.
I'd like to ask Alan, last meeting I asked about the water tower lights. It's a sort of subject. Have we heard anything at all on those?
I've talked to Patrick of, Golf Course Patrick.
Hamilton.
Hamilton, yeah,
Yeah.
Golf Course Patrick, and he gave me a budget file. The problem is everything's outdated. And nothing talks to nothing, and it's just outdated, so you got a system that's useless.
Useless.
And, I mean, it is what it is,
Yeah.
and, if that's something we want to look at in the future, I think let's look at it come budget time and have some real discussions.
Okay, because I was wondering if there's a way we just turn them on and off manually or anything like that.
I don't know.
Okay,
I think what he said is they can be blue. And that is the only
Yeah.
option if we use them.
if we use people, that's the
They
only
will be blue. He said it would take money to get new ones.
And when you play Norton Blue Jays in football playoffs, that's probably a good idea.
I'd rather have purple. than blue.
I don't think they, I'm with your look, I don't think they ever had a manual option, it was always, you had to connect to the
Okay.
system.
Contact in the system. Okay, so in other words, it was money well spent. That's all I.
Okay, I forgot one item. Thank you, Don. So we've talked about forming a new government, and you sent around a wonderful update that talked about all the different forms of government you had that you worked for, right?
Yes,
And it was, I don't know if everybody read it, look, it was really interesting, the different forms. So I think if we could put it on the agenda for next week to start talking about it, I'll tell you why. If we're gonna hire a city administrator, they're gonna wanna know what type of government are you gonna have? The other thing we gotta think about, if we're gonna do it, I would say we need to do it fairly quick before the election, simply because it gives people the courtesy of knowing what positions are they running for, the length of terms and all that kind of stuff. So I would say, let's at least discuss it. If everybody's okay with it, put it on the agenda. I mean, I've already got a favorite. I think that it starts to settle the problem between mayor and council and mayor and city administrator. I think that there's a form out there that's better for us. I think it'd be a great legacy to leave, to put this whole situation in better shape. But what are your feelings, Alan?
if you want to change form of government, it's not gonna be a quick thing. Change, because you have things like called elections coming up, and by state statute and their local ordinance, we'll have an election this year, and candidates for the mayor and two council members, you have to file by order about June 1, whatever the.
Yeah, Monday, the second, I think.
Yeah, it's the second, okay, yeah, it's June 1, unless it's Saturday or Sunday. And you have to file it, so timing is gonna be real tough to get anything, because normally you can probably do a 2-year period to get there in most cases.
In terms of going to like the manager system of government, which is one of the options,
Right.
that requires you can't, so there are charter ordinances that you guys know, you can do one and you can just switch. But to do a radical change of government, you guys have to do it, and then you have to put it to the voters, so you have to get ratified by a
Right.
vote. So what you would be thinking about doing now would be to maybe at the fastest, put something on the ballot at that election, but even then. Even then, you would still have to have your regular election alongside with that because it has to go concurrent, so.
I believe any discussion, and if you want to have a vote of the public, we're talking November of 26.
Yeah, that I would agree with
Because
that.
that way you're in between cycles and everything else, because any form of government would then go to at least the next period, and you got those things going. You know, now, if you want, and I did throw, you know, as you saw in my note, do you want to take a look at, you know, how you do some things now? You have a charter ordinance that's about ready to go into effect in a couple of weeks, that changes the appointment system. You know, do you want to have a discussion on should certain positions, i.e. city attorney, city administrator, clerk, treasurer, police chief, should those be subject to annual appointments? If you remember, and again, I've watched online, I wasn't here at this meetings yet, where Patrick made a comment that when you want to, and you had a discussion with your former city administrator last year, you also now talk about an employee issue. So, you know, and if you hire, and I was hired most of my career, you know, hopefully I was appointed, and then the other ones I wasn't hired, but, you know, and I'm a right to work state, so if they said, Alan, you need to go, Alan got to go. Now granted, city manager probably has a contract, fireman, police chief, not picking on chief at all here, but police chief doesn't, but if he needs to get fired, he needs to get fired. I'm not gonna ever argue that, and, you know, and I've terminated 2 police chiefs in my career. If you have to, you have to have a good operation city. But the point is does this commission, when they talk about, you talk about changes, you know, maybe move into those positions? Because you bring somebody in here, and I can understand what Dustin was going through, and, you know, because I had some conversations during that time is, you know. And of course, you've changed that a little bit where, you know, if in the form we have now until charter ordinance goes into effect, he says, I'm not saying Dustin's name. You couldn't do anything about it. The mayor always has to say a name, you know, if we're appointing somebody, we say, you know, if you go say, pick Alan, he goes, I'm not gonna. You couldn't do nothing about it. Your charter ordinance now makes it a group decision. You know, and again, you know, if a person needs to get terminated, I'm not gonna argue that ever, because you've got to serve the city. But the annual appointments, you know, we have a 30-year person downstairs, just city treasurer. You know, if she does stuff, it needs to be an employee process, not an employment. That's just my thought. Some of that thing's worth discussing.
But putting it on the agenda, you know, even if I think setting a goal, but this is kind of where we'd like to be, and maybe taking incremental steps.
Like I said, changing form of government, you're talking probably November of 26. Because that gives you time to talk about it, and you can, if you want to put it on the ballot at that time, you know. That way you don't have a special election, you know. I'm old fashioned, I don't even like to do charter ordinances I always like to do charter, if possible, close to the election, that way I'm never forced into having to pay for an election. I'm cheap, but, and I've had some, you had to do it also, but, because that way you don't have to pay for an election.
Yeah.
I'll pay extra for it, so, again, I think some of those things, just tossing out there, you know, I picked that up of what Patrick was saying last fall, city attorney. And I thought, you know, using my experience and one thing we talked about, I do bring a lot of different diverse, I mean, I worked in 4 forms of government in the state of Kansas. There's 1 or 2 I didn't work for, different forums. And they're all good, it's just what the community wants. And again, as I mentioned in my notes last couple weeks, the city is the only form of government that chooses to be. Counties were picked out, kind of defined by the state, you know, we're under some state laws, but, you know, we don't have to be, you know, 625 cities in Kansas with home rule and everything else. We don't have to act like every other city. And I mentioned that the Hoisington and Lyons have the same form of government, yet they do it a little differently. One has a manager, one has an administrator, you know.
Yeah, did you see where Kansas come out with the top cities, and out of the 105, Ellsworth is number 23?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's a new report out, state of Kansas. So out of 105, we're the 23rd of the best to live in. I think that's
Counties.
pretty good.
That was county.
County. We're pretty good at the honors. of living in
105
Ellsworth.
counties and 625 cities.
Huh?
There's 105 counties and 625 cities.
Yeah. So out of 105, we're number 23 county. That's pretty good.
When I do my training, like I did last week at Lions, about how to city government, which involves Comey Core, I just keep an added stuff. One of those things is what Alan's talking about, which is like, Also, every city government, you have to look at the ordinances and the charters and the code because you get to tweak it yourself, you know, so every time you go to the city, look at it. We'll talk about that, but I would strongly urge the council to use Alan's experience for as long as he's in there to kind of guide you on the next step. I agree with everything he said, and you know, maybe that's an agenda item, maybe that's a study session item. To talk about sometime in the future about what kind of changes we can make in the short term and in the longer term. I can legally, my job is, if you guys make decisions to try and help you get there. But Alan can tell you with his experience what the pros and cons are, and that's not something I can do, so.
Yeah, and then with Mary Ann, you'll find out about the Cowtown thing, or Dan will, you email us all when they find a date and a time, place?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
So do you mind putting it on the agenda, or is that?
I don't think we need to yet, do we? If we can't do anything until the 26th November 2026.
Do you want to have a discussion about appointment of city officials?
I think it's part
And again,
of,
that's up to you.
I think we should have the larger discussion, then we can drop it. You know, I think,
We've already decided what we're gonna do with that.
let's.
You're going to do as a group.
Huh?
But there's still, your police chief, your fire, your city administrator, your clerk are still subject to annual appointment. Now it's by the group. You know, do you want to move to the next step where they're just employees? And again, that's, you know, there's a lot of different things and there's no right way. There's, what you have to find is the Ellsworth way. That's what you have to find.
I think we're good for right now. Let's get through with the problems that we have and then we'll make other ones.
And I think it's good. Again, I'm gonna throw out all kinds of stuff at you to make you think.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I'm just a hired man, so you know.
Oh, and by the
let me
way,
know.
who gave us the little treats?
yeah.
Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
I'm known for that. So and my ties.
Yeah,
One point I wanna make before we adjourn is that we told everybody when we review this charter ordinance, it's part of a process. What you're saying is, it is a process, but we wanna wait for the next step.
Well, I think what I'm hearing
Right.
is they're gonna, let's see what
Happens.
let's see what the change the council put in place. Let's see what it looks like after it's in place. And that makes great sense.
Okay,
okay.
yeah, that's fair, does everybody agree?
Doug, you do this year,
But it is,
make the appointments, and then you talk about,
right,
okay, maybe we'll do this different, you know.
I know there's not a one of us up here having the experience that Alan has.
not combined.
They're not combined even, so we,
You're telling me I'm old, thank you.
yeah.
No.
So we're telling you that how valuable you are to the city of Ellsworth.
Thank you.
So we're gonna commence a process, we're gonna take a look at it after we make these changes. If we need to make incremental changes, we will, but we're gonna wait on the whole discussion, okay, I like it. All right, anybody want to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Counselor Panzer's made a motion to adjourn, and Counselor Hanson has seconded that motion.
I did.
Oh, Jessica seconded it. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, all right, motion carries. Here we go.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Alan.